Good evening. And if you're just tuning in, you are listening to or watching, but listening on 105.3 FM out of Mississippi and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana to UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. And this is The Angel Rock. I am your host, Lorilei Potvin. I'm a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor. I'm a registered nurse as well as I can't, apparently, Julie will probably be in the chat. Julie Jean Bassett, who I took her course, she says, I can't call myself a budding animal communicator anymore. So animal communicator. I'm well versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler myself and studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years. And I'm also extremely well versed in the paranormal. I always say we didn't go looking for the paranormal. It found us in our house. We've shared a story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor, Season 4, Episode 9. I didn't pick the title, but it's called Demonic Hauntings. Hi, Leslie, I see you. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe if my mouth will work. Tell all your friends and family. This network's been around for 25 plus years, and there really is something for everybody on this network. It's not all just spooky, ooky, paranormal stuff. There's a wide variety of topics. We're always adding new hosts, and I believe we're almost up to 40 live hosts on the network. We do stream 7 days a week and multiple shows every day. When we're not streaming live, the archive server kicks in and randomly picks shows over the last 25 plus years. So like I say, please help us out. If you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe. I got a little checkoff list now. I always forget something. So this show and my second show that I co-host with my very good friend and very gifted medium and angel channel, David Hansel, is on Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. Both of these shows are very audience participative. And I always tell my guests, you've seen this guest and you will see her, just like the one we had last week for La Ventura. We've got Sonya here tonight. But I always tell my guests that my audience is extremely intelligent. You ask great questions. I love that you're kind to everybody, including those in the chat. You guys have made some little friends here and I love it. But if you're listening, because 80% of our audience is listening only, we do broadcast to every country in the world, believe it or not. But if you're listening, you can't comment. So if you're listening live and you want to watch live, I'm going to tell you how to do that. Because if you're watching us on video, you can comment and we will see you. So where you can head over to, I will give you a heads up. Facebook has been having some problems with comments, I notice. So I'm going to try to remember to say this a little bit later because people sometimes join a little bit later. If you are commenting and you're noticing I'm not saying anything at all when I'm going through comments, it may be if you're on Facebook, it's not showing up. I noticed that happened all last week. Thank God somebody messaged me towards the end of the show and said, I don't think you're seeing us. And I said, no, we're not. And I heard from a few other people. So the best way to do that, if you think you're not being seen, please head over to YouTube. I'm going to give you a few ways to do that. You can head over to UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network on Facebook, but also on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel we're streaming to. I'm streaming to my YouTube, which is The Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin. We are streaming to Sonya's YouTube, which is under Sonya Roy, because I know I tagged you, Sonya. You can also go on Facebook, where we are streaming to Canada's Most Haunted. I'll be sharing it to I'll be sharing it to, I was trying to think, am I streaming to my platform tonight or not? No. So I'll share it to my platform on Facebook, Lorilei Potvin, just my profile, so you guys can go there too. We're streaming to the Angel Rock on Instagram. Now, hopefully that stays put for an hour. Sometimes it does, or 2 hours, I should say. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. They don't integrate your comments over here. So I am going to try and pop back and forth to say hello and tell you we see you and we appreciate you being here. So thank you. Lastly, if you guys want to see us you want to watch us on TV, sorry, trying to multitask here and it's not letting me. If you want to see us, we do have a network channel on Roku. How you're going to find that? You're going to go to the channel store and type in UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop down list. We're about the third or fourth one down. You're looking for UFO space paranormal and United Public Radio Yeah, just radio, no network after it. And you can watch us on there. We'd love to have you. I see you guys all filing in. We'll say hi to you just before we get started. I'm going to introduce you guys to my guest. You've seen her. She's been on here a lot this summer, but she had a brand new book out on narcissism. And it was not only about narcissism, it's 12 steps to healing and how to, I believe the word was flourish after a narcissistic relationship. So we came on to talk about that. That was an important, thanks, Sonya. Yeah, pull it out because it's needed. A lot of people, a lot of people really had a lot to say about that. This was scheduled, this visit, a long time ago, but you guys love her every time she comes on. She's one of your favorites. So I'm going to read a little bit of her bio. Sonya Roy is an extremely gifted bilingual Canadian medium, master holistic healer, including she is a master Reiki healer and shamanic practitioner, as well as an author of numerous incredible books. And she does have numerous incredible books. Sonya was previously an RCMP, and for those of you around the world that don't know what that is, it is a Royal Canadian Mounted Police Officer, or the ones that everybody knows as the Mounties with the fedora and the red, beautiful red jacket, black pants. That was Sonya. And she did that for quite a few years, but now she uses her life experiences and knowledge, as well as exceptional abilities, and those she does have, to help guide and teach others, to help people to empower themselves and recognize their divine self. Welcome, Sonya. I'm sorry, I've got stuff to get out of the way.
I stay quiet and I wait. I know it's windy, but I'm like that you finally got yourself a checklist.
I do, because I always, well, no, I don't like reading a script, but I have a checklist, because otherwise I'll be thinking as I'm going, what am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? I just thought, I'm just going to make a checklist, and it helps me. So let me say hi to everybody here. And Sonya is sharing on your Facebook and your YouTube, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. We got Leslie 1266. She says hello. Mish, always got a teaser. She's over in the future. She's in Australia and it's morning over there. She says, good day, Lorilei. Good day, Sonya. Good day, everyone. Hang on, we're going to scroll. We got Carrie Lynn Shellhorn waving hello. You guys know she's my partner. Well, not in crime, I guess in spirit. I'm finally going to get to meet her. You guys are probably going to see us live that week and a lot. We're both doing the Lake Superior Paracon, and it's here in Thunder Bay, Ontario in Canada. Carrie Lynn is one of the featured speakers. I am also going to be speaking at that. We have a merch table, and we're going to be getting into all kinds of fun you guys are going to see. So I cannot wait. Don't forget to tune into her show, you guys. Fridays, Spirit Switchboard, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a fantastic show. She has fantastic guests and a really awesome, cool audience. And I was on there last week with her. We had so much fun together on her show. And she's coming on the Angel Rock soon. I promise, guys, I got her booked in. So we got Zisa Dragon. He says, hello, Lorilei, or hi, he says, and hi, Sonya. We call him Kevin, his muggle name, as I call it. Let's see, who else are we missing here?
So, your con, what's the dates for it?
October 4th to 6th.
Okay.
Are you going to come visit us? Would you come visit
us?
I'm
close, because I'm actually flying to Montreal October 3rd. So.
Oh, do you have a stopover in Thunder Bay?
Yeah.
Well, that happens sometimes coming from Alberta. It does. Usually it's
the thing is, I'm flying to Montreal because I have a spiritual fair I'm attending myself on that weekend. So,
and they don't usually, like from out west, they usually stop in Toronto. They don't usually stop in Thunder Bay. But I thought, oh my gosh, well, how awesome would that be? I'd finally get to meet you in person.
If I was in Biggie's that weekend, I could rent a car and come up and visit. But that's
a long drive. Oh, Brent, when you get here, yeah, definitely would be so awesome. Oh my God, I would have loved that. So we've got Michelle Wilfong. She says, hi, everyone. Kathy Hanley Little. Hi, all. Hang on. We're scrolling through. I always like to say hi to everybody. I hate when I go to a live and maybe it's the Leo in me, but when it's not busy, right? Like I understand if you got 20,000 people there and the comments are flying, but otherwise people never look at the chat when they do a podcast or they do anything in their live. I keep thinking, I got some questions. I want to ask you something, or I want to ask your guest. And I figure I could watch you anytime. And I do usually if they don't interact. So I think if I mind it, other people probably do too. So, and we're really appreciative that everybody's here. We got Heidi Gold. She says, hello, beautiful souls. I was watching from Instagram. Something about it wasn't bubbles up enough for Meta. That's okay. They're kind of connected.
There's a comment from Facebook, so it's working.
It's working. Well, it is working. It's not that it's not working. It's just that it wasn't showing comments from I don't know where, if people were sharing and it wasn't, because the person that messaged me towards the end of the show wasn't the only person. There was Howie or Ed Odell. He may come up. He pops in here. He's got the Riff Nation network. Really supports our network. He said, yeah, Tanya's my sister. I remember he said that. And I'm like, who's Tanya? There's no Tanya here. And that kind of gave me a heads up. And then when one of our regular viewers messaged me finally, it was towards the end of the show, though. I didn't know otherwise. A lot of the comments weren't showing up from Facebook.
Well, we got one now, so maybe it'll work today.
Yeah, let's hope so. So Carolyn says, oh, thanks, Lorilei. I'm counting down the days. Me too. And Mish says, I got lucky and caught Lorilei. Yes, you usually pop in when you're getting ready for work. We got Julie Evans. She's on YouTube and Facebook. We got to say hi to her because she's over in England. So it's late. It is now 11:24 p.m. over there. So thank you for staying up to join us. I think we hit everybody up. So how are you, my friend? I haven't talked to you in over a month.
Here's what I can say. We're having ourselves a huge fair coming up this weekend, September 28 and 29 in Drumheller, Alberta.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual metaphysical fair. And we have 50 vendors, healers, readers coming down from Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC. And we've been getting phone calls and emails. Okay, where can I stay? I'm coming from Nunavut. And where can I get a hotel? And thinking, okay.
Well, Drumheller isn't that bad. I have not been that far out west in Canada. I know, embarrassing, but Drumheller isn't really big, is it?
No, it's.
I'm surprised. I love that you're having an event like this, but go ahead. Sorry.
It's about 8,000. Well, a lot of people were like, "Why don't you do it in Calgary?" I said, "Because I live in Drumheller. It's that simple. I'm. This is not what I do for a living, but it's lacking here in Alberta, out west. There used to be an organizer and they stopped. So there hasn't been really a whole lot in the spiritual department going on here. Right. You know, there's a lot of farmers market, but you know, the people who go there for their veggies, their chickens, their eggs, and you know, so even though I could be there, it's not what attracts them, right? As opposed to this. It's a whole weekend. We have 14 speakers, presenters. Wow. We have Tibetan medicine. We have energy medicine. We have everything, and I'm so excited because the lineup is incredible. So it will be fantastic because people will learn about nutrition, but also you know, there's one of our vendors is a shaman, the Tibetan shaman, and he does. Oh, wow. He's a recognized doctor as part of the association, so he can actually heal you. It's different ways to look at your health. You know, a lot of my podcasts this year, the theme for this year was holistic medicine, and I'm exploring all the different ways to how can you heal, how can you supplement your treatment with regular medicine, right? And we went into plants and water and all different things. So now this is kind of the culmination of all this fair where people are actually going to be able to ask questions, hear more about the different topics. And so we've been very, very busy.
I bet Carrie Lynn just said that sounds amazing. And to say hi to my cousin over on Instagram, if she's still there. Hi, Jacqueline. Like they never put the comments. I seen your comments over there finally, Heidi, and you popped over to YouTube. The beautiful thing is we'll be able to see everything in one place. Otherwise, I got to pop back and forth. Connie Martin says hi. And Heidi Grohl says, I love that, Sonya. I do too, because, you know, you're right about going to a farmer's market. And even though this used to be the way of the world many centuries ago with some of the stuff that we do, most of the stuff that we do and more, it's now, if I could see people going to a farmer's market and going, well, I'm interested, but wouldn't wholeheartedly participate when you've got a whole weekend dedicated and such a holistic group of people, you know what I mean, from all different arenas, and people can be comfortable, if you will, let their hair down versus at a farmer's market. I don't know. I find people get a little guarded if it's not.
What I found that is a lot of people are still kind of scared to talk about it. They're afraid to be judged. And I'm like, well, if I'm having it in Drumheller and you see your neighbor, now from now on, you know that you can openly talk about this with your neighbor and you don't have to
Love
feel
it.
judged. They were there too, right?
Mhm.
I've had a few people say, I know nothing about this. That's the perfect weekend to pop in and get some information and see what it's all about. It's not all woo woo and we're all crazy.
Well, I think it's so important because I always say I have to be careful on YouTube, but I'll spell it PHARMA background. I have always, this, talking even off air, but I always go to a more holistic. I'm not giving medical advice for anybody out there, but I look at what's out there because once upon a time ago, they didn't have that. You went to the pharmacy or chemist, as some people may call it, and head out there and grab a bottle of whatever it is, right? They use nature. Energy healing can help. There's all kinds of things. Now, the one thing I'm going to add to that, we weren't planning on talking about health all night long, but I think this is really important, is the group of people you've mentioned that you brought together. I know, being a nurse from the background, I have a neighbor that's been diagnosed with very pretty difficult, we'll say poor diagnosis, stage 4 cancer in 2 areas that they know of right now. And I've been, with their sister that they live with is very devastated. I said, rightfully so, your whole world changed within a matter of a day.
Yeah.
And I keep telling her, just because maybe you might hear that there's nothing else that can be done, I told her, you're a smart lady. You start doing your research. But the other thing I found is that these type of things sometimes are discouraged when you especially are having chemo, for example. I've seen that you can't
I've seen both.
participate.
I've seen both actually because I do Reiki and
Well, Reiki's okay. I'm thinking anything by mouth, like
yeah.
herbal or.
Oh yeah. But I mean, talking about chemo, right? People are going to chemo, and then I had a client coming to me right after the chemo to get Reiki because it eliminated the side effects and
Yeah.
the nausea and the pain and all that. And she, 3 treatments in, everybody else is pretty down, feeling pretty sick, and they're like, "Yeah, how are you holding up so well?" And then she starts talking about the Reiki, and then all of a sudden, I have the entire group coming to me.
Well, because that's how things spread with our business, right? Because you're right. Like, it's still kind of looked at side eye. Some people aren't even comfortable in our line of work to be able to tell others close to them what they're doing. Now, Reiki was never discouraged. Like, I learned therapeutic touch. I could use therapeutic touch, which is such a misnomer because you don't touch the person, you work with their energy field. But anything by mouth, and say the Tibetan shaman that you've got coming, for example, he probably knows many a herb and thing like that he can recommend. But that's what I meant. They don't like you
Okay.
to.
Yeah. It's it's
Oh,
what I've tried to educate people this year is that can be complementary,
yeah,
right?
I agree.
So you can still go to your doctor. You can still go to your chemo. You can still do those things with regular medicine.
Yeah.
But if it's not working for you, there's alternative that you can work with in
Yes.
order to relieve the pain, relieve the side effects. And I've tried most of what I've talked about, and just the one on water. My brother's like, what are you going to talk about? Water's water. I said, actually, water is so much more than water,
Yes.
right? And so, I mean, I did my 90 minutes and explaining all the different hydrotherapy that exists out there and all the different application that you can use water for. And, it's amazing.
It really is. I want to give Mish a shout out. I'm glad you shared, Michelle. She said, I did my Reiki Masters recently. That she says, go me. No, everybody's congratulating you, and that's a big deal, Michelle. So thank you for sharing. Julie Jean Bassett, I was talking about you at the beginning. Julie Jean Bassett, I always give her a shout out because she really has helped me a lot. My dog's been under the weather, almost passed away on me with no warning, only 5 years old. I don't know if she had a seizure, what she did, and she's still a little bit under the weather right now. So Julie's an incredible animal communicator, healer, also shamanic practitioner. I'm also going to give Sonya a shout out because I've had sessions with Sonya too that have been life-changing, by the way, guys. I've also had them with Julie too. So you can check her out at juliejanebassett.com. And of course, you can always check Sonya. We're going to talk about her website, but sonyaroy.com. And even though I'm a healer, just so you guys know, I still go to other healers, and I definitely think you know what, because as much as I want to be able to do the healing work on myself, for example, we can't be as objective as somebody that, you know, is coming from a good place like yourself and can give you, I think,
Actually,
I think it works much more effectively.
let's demystify that, right? I had kidney stones. It's extremely painful. And my brother says to me, but you're a healer, heal yourself. I'm like, but it requires concentration. It requires connection. And I'm in pain right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to reach that connection level where I can heal myself. So that's where I will ask my roommate, Chris, who's a crystal healer, and she plays the crystal bowl for me. She cracked those stones, and within a day they passed, and it was wonderful, right? But even though I can help others, when I'm the one who's in trouble, if I'm in emotional turmoil or if I'm in horrendous physical pain, I can't reach that level that I need to reach in order to start the healing. Right?
I agree 100%. And I know there's things that we can do for ourselves. Obviously, we can. But you are absolutely 100% right. Plus, it also takes honesty, I think, too, right? And sometimes I always say this, even though you can hold the mirror up to your own face, anybody, the global you, the proverbial you, whoever, right? Sometimes it's so much easier when we're standing on the outside to see what the issue is in the whole picture versus holding that mirror up to our face and be able to see exactly what the issue is. Oh, that's a good question, Mish. I've never seen it. Mish is asking, does anyone make jewelry out of kidney stones? I know I wouldn't want to, but there could be somebody.
Well,
kidney stones
first of
are
all,
horrible.
You got to catch them.
Well, they're horrible too. They're.
And,
I've talked to people in a kidney stone attack, and I am telling you, oh, and I have not gone through it, but you pick up other people's pain, and if it's anything, because I don't feel at full bore that the person's going through, as I'm sure you've done too, and it's terrible, terrible, terrible.
Well, some people say that it's akin to giving birth. It's not, but it's not. So all the men out there, it's not. Giving birth is worse. But for me, it comes on like a stabbing pain in my kidneys, right? So I can feel it. I know it's there, and it's painful because the little stone travels all the way.
They're like knives. They're like knives going, and most of them are bigger. If we simplify it like a tube. Yeah. And a kidney stone is like jagged, pointy knives going through a tube that it doesn't fit through. And as it's trying to pass, just imagine what that's doing, people. So that's why it's so painful.
Well, the doctor told me, you know, oh, there's 6.5 millimeters. Unless they were 8, we're not going to do anything. Now, if you look at how big 6.5 millimeter is, it's huge when it comes to kidney stones.
Well, your neural, it's your kidney tube, basically, your ureter, and where it's passing through. It's not that big, people. So believe me, it's not fun. Oh, Connie's sharing here. She said, my mom's palliative home care doctor used to perform Reiki on her and got her to use anxiety oils. He was so amazing. Oh, that makes me so happy to hear. Not that your mom was ill, but that her doctor was so progressive and open-minded. That gives me a lot of hope for the future. Now, I saw a question. Somebody was asking about narcissism. We weren't planning on talking about that tonight. And you know what?
What's their question? Maybe we can answer it quickly.
Okay, I saw it as we were going by. Hang on, let me go up. It was up quite a bit. Hang on. Here we go. Sonya. Can narcissists change themselves? Can they become aware of their narcissistic behavior?
No. There.
I know. That's buy your book, but I like that you said that. No, they can't. And that's been proven, Leslie. At least as far as I've seen, I have never seen a therapist or someone that works with a narcissist that has said that they have completely cured them.
And, you know, at the beginning, you introduced me, and you do talk about me being in the police force, but I was also a psychologist. And when I joined the RCMP, I was aiming to become a behavioralist. So that was my goal in joining, determining, examining crime and determining what kind of person could do that. So I have
everybody. I did not know that out. As long as I've known you and as much as I've talked to you, I did not know that. So I didn't I knew you had a psychology background, but I did not know that. So anyways, you were going to become a behavioralist to look at this, why people do what they do.
Yes. And so I have how can I say this? I have the theory and all the background for the narcissism. I didn't pull this out of my hat, right? Narcissists can't be healed just because they live in a bubble, and the only way to make them realize they're narcissists is to pop the bubble. If you pop the bubble, they become psychotic, so they'll never do that on their own.
The other reason why, my theory is, and I do have some psychology background, I'm not a psychologist, but we've taken quite a few levels, but just even dealing with them on a personal level, which I know you have too. And we talked, if you want, you guys go back to the shows in July and August. If you go on my YouTube, you just scroll back a bit, you will see both shows there with Sonya. It's almost the same as babies that go quick, just go from sitting to walking. They never get that creeping and crawling movement. They're finding with some of the research going back that these children have missed that whole developmental stage when the brain is really developing pathways with crawling that can sometimes contribute to learning difficulties, sometimes behavior, things like that. So I know I've seen some of the therapy that's out there that they actually take the kids, mainly kids. There's been adults that have tried it too, but they try to create those neural pathways by playing games and doing whatever, getting the kids to do the creeping and crawling. Where I'm going with the narcissism is because it actually starts to develop very young in life, like 2, 3, 4 years old. And again, please check out Sonya's book. It's an incredible book, or you can look this up yourself. But they're missing that piece, if you will. So I mean, and there's not really any way to go back to it because it's kind of the way they were raised emotionally, and there's a whole bunch involved. And Sonya could tell you way more about this, that piece is missing. So how do you fix it, right? Mm-hmm.
But so today, because we did 2 full podcasts on narcissism, right? I think it will serve people well to go back to look at those. They're available on your channel and my channel.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I should have even thought of that. I'm sorry. I'm so glad you're not afraid to speak up because yes, it is available. You did. I was telling Sonya before, she is one of my few guests. There's a few, not a lot, that take advantage of StreamYard. And I don't mean in a bad way, in a good way, that you're able to stream it to your audience as well. And we always offer that to our guests. So it is on your platforms. Because the first one we kind of talked about, and people shared a lot of what they had gone through with their own experience with narcissism, as did we shared. And then we focus more on the second show on healing. How can you heal and flourish and move on and start to have a beautiful, wonderful life instead of getting stuck in that very awful experience that a lot of people go through and move on? Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So
but today,
go ahead, sorry.
Well, it's because we have All Hallows Eve coming in soon, and it's the thinnest time of the year with the veil.
You're just reading my mind. That's where I was going, just to start, and you just transitioned beautifully. Thank you.
I figured it'd be a good time to talk about mediumship. Communicating with the other side and demystifying mediumship. And explaining a little bit of that, and maybe go into the culture, different culture, like the Mexican culture of the Days de la Muerte, and then the Druidics.
I think that, with Halloween, right? For people that don't, there are places around the world, people, that Halloween is not a big deal, and it's not what it is, say, over in North America here. So.
I know here, some people go all out. They take weeks to decorate their house, and but the different traditions that we amalgamated into what is now Halloween comes from these other cultures celebrating their dead and trying to communicate with them and trying to cross the veil and receive messages and guidance. So I find it's always the best time to actually teach people. So I thought, we could talk.
You've got a course coming up, don't you? You said in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, I just had one this weekend in Drumheller. And then I'll be in Quebec, and so I will be teaching in French and in English how to be a medium.
I love it.
Because you don't need to be special, you don't need to be extraordinary. It's like learning to read or learning to count. As long as someone is there to teach you, you can do it.
So let's talk about that a bit, because I actually came into my mediumship abilities later in life. And it wasn't that I didn't have them around me. I just didn't know what it was or why I knew what I knew or what I picked up. Same as my psychic abilities, all that stuff. I had been using it my whole life. I've had strange, weird experiences my whole life. And you and I have talked many times, not so much on air, but we could have been sisters. Some of the things we've gone through as little girls and stuff. So please, yeah, go ahead and share. So, because people think you have to be special to
No.
access this, and we don't.
So let's go back, right? Let's go back in time. At the time of Lemuria, when our bodies weren't so condensed, and we used telepathy to communicate, and we used telekinesis to move big objects, big stones. We were using our mind to its full potential and all the powers that is within our ability, because we're made of energy, and so we can manipulate energy, right? Absolutely. Now, unfortunately, with the loss of Lemuria and Atlantis becoming the main continent, I guess, of people, they wanted to cut corners. They wanted to use technology to cut corners. So rather than taking the time to develop their skills and own their skills, they started taking shortcuts and using tools instead, and using, rather than developing their abilities, they would use crystals or.
Go ahead. I'll pull that up after. Sorry, I don't want it. I was going to throw it in there, but I'm going to get to that, Connie, your comment. Go ahead. Sorry.
And so, and then the destruction of Atlantis led to a big loss in all of those things. And with time, I mean, the Celtic Druids, the White Brotherhood, and there's the SNEs, they were trying to cultivate these abilities, but they had to do it.
People who they are a little bit. No, you don't have to get into a big thing, because some people may never have heard of these things before going back in history.
Okay. So the White Brotherhood explanation is coming. The White Brotherhood.
Well, thank you for this history and explanation. So people haven't heard this before, or who you're talking about, probably even.
So the White Brotherhood is an organization that is holding onto Ascended Masters' teachings. Ooh. So someone actually asked me, "Are you Catholic, or you got a lot of Buddhas in the house? Are you now Buddhist?" With an inkling of judgment in there. And I'm like, I am a student of all Ascended Masters. I go beyond the color of my skin and the country where I reside. I'm looking for wisdom. And so if that wisdom should come from India, then so be it. If it comes from Tibet, then so be it, right? Yeah. And so if you take the teachings of the actual Ascended Masters, as opposed to what then humans try to do with it to gain power and get richer, right? If we go back to eliminate all that, eliminate all the positions of power, and just go with, it's my development and my personal development, I'm in power by doing it, and I can do it by myself because I have everything I need. I just need instruction. Then listening to different Ascended Masters is what's going to guide you, right? A message might be clearer than another. Like when it comes to Jesus spoke in parables. Well, if you're not an imagination person, and if you might get lost in there. Buddha is very mental, so there's concepts that you need to have open your mind to understand the concept. So different Ascended Masters have appeared on Earth throughout time to assist different people in their learning abilities and their cultural background. And that is the White Brotherhood. So the followers of Ascended Masters are trying to learn from these Ascended Masters. So that's the White Brotherhood. And then amongst that, developed the Druidic culture, the Celtic Druids. They were a society that was very close to nature, like shamans. Like I would say that they're the shamans of Europe. And I know that Celtic Druids, people think it's Ireland, but it's not. The Celtic Druids were all the way down to France. So they covered a huge area, and it's a form of shamanism. It's following the cycles of nature, being close to the earth, and honoring the seasons and celebrating each part of the year for what it represents. Who else did I name? The SNEs. The SNEs were a background that lived between Judea and Egypt. They live isolated from society. I had a very strict diet of scaled fish, which means no shellfish, and vegetables and fruits. They meditated and they tried to raise their energy and their power. So all of these different cultures were working and understanding that there's more that meets the eye in the third dimension.
Right.
There's so much more. And they tried to develop the ability to receive messages from the other side, to be guided, and also to receive valuable information from their loved ones or someone that's passed away, or to the point where you can even communicate with animals. It's all in the same bag. It's just different compartments.
But that, imagine the wisdom if everybody would, I always say, you know, if children were taught from birth and exposed to it even in the womb about things like meditation and telepathy and telekinesis and all these things that we were doing centuries ago, right? If they were, it would just become everyday, normal, regular life. It wouldn't be a big thing that somebody's getting paid millions of dollars to be on TV because they're a medium. We'd all be doing it. And imagine the wisdom you could, like, and I even tell people this, I know we've talked about this many shows ago, spirit, as we call it collectively, which would include ascended masters, or I include them in there myself, or there's different collectives you can work with. They will hold classes with you in meditation. You set the intention and you show up. Spirit will show you up. Like, same thing for yourself. Like, you guys, honestly, I'm going to push it again. Your podcast you put out there, there's incredible wisdom you have shared. And the thing is, even people ask me, how do you know all this stuff? Well, a lot of it comes from sitting with spirit, asking questions, and, you know, a bit of research, and it comes if you're open to it, right?
Absolutely. I think that one of the biggest difference is some people are open when they're young, and their parents tell them, "Oh, you have an imaginary friend." So then we start pushing in our brain, going, "Oh, that's not real. That's my imagination." And so we kind of close the door, right?
Yep.
Some people are not sure what to make of the experience. They get afraid. Then they not only close the door, they bolt it shut. And right? And I grew up with my grandmother visiting me in my bedroom every night, and then taking me out of my body and traveling me through time and allowing me to see initiations I've received in past lives, and then taking me to the classrooms at night. And she's like, "Okay, well, tonight, this is your class. You go in there and I'll pick you up when the class is done." So I was going to school as much at night as I was during the day. But nobody told me I was crazy. Nobody told me I was my imagination. Nobody blocked it for me. So I remained very, very open.
Well, you spent a lot of time out in nature too, because I remember you talking about the tree you used to go out to lay in, and you even though childhood can be difficult with some of the things we go through growing up, you had your grandmother, like you said, taking you and bringing you to all these spaces, and what a beautiful gift. And so you didn't have to have the door shut, like you said.
Yeah. And then I also grew up with this tree that my dad planted in the backyard, and it was a willow, and I would climb in this tree. This was my safe haven. I didn't have a tree house. I just had the tree. And I talked to the tree, and I said to the tree, "It would be so cool if you could grow this branch here so I could sit on it. And then you grow this branch there so I could put like my snacks on there." And that's exactly how the tree grew. And then there was another area of the tree, and I said, "It'd be so cool if your branches kind of nested me so I could actually lay down like in a hammock, but it'll be in your branches." And the tree grew exactly how I was asking him to. And while I was playing in the tree, I had two fairies always coming to meet me every afternoon, and we would play games, and this was all very real. No one said it's your imagination, and I was left to, my mom was more than happy for me to be outside the house. So, whatever game I was playing, she was okay with. So no one discredited me. And
I was just going to add, Kathy Hanley little added, or a parent would tell you there's something wrong with you, or I was always told there's no such thing. So I learned at a very early age like I remember I was probably 3 or 4, and every night, and I know it's one of my guides. I've made the connection now. It's only when I have the name too, because I never really got really crazy about names. I knew it was energy and vibration connecting on the other side. But she told me how many children, I would ask her. And I remember even the names being told this. I mean, I'm 59 now. This happened when I was 3 or 4. And it's like it happened yesterday. And I used to have all these conversations at night, but I knew at a very early age that that was not something I could share with anybody. I wasn't told not to. I just intuitively knew, like, no, or I would have been probably brought to a psychologist or something.
Yeah, see, I was just doing my thing now. Leslie's asking manifestation or cooperation. It's actually cooperation, right? I'm asking the tree if he wouldn't mind creating these branches, because my intent would be to lay there in a tree with him, and
But you ask rather than working on manifesting it to grow, right? Like there's a
yeah.
difference.
And I didn't put wire around the branches to make them twist a certain way, right? It all happened very naturally. And yeah, so when I came home one day, my dad's killing the trees, cutting the tree down, and I had like a fit. It was like killing my best friend. And he couldn't understand, right? That's where he's like, it's just a tree. I'm like, no, you don't understand. He's my friend. I live in this tree every day. I come to this tree. You're killing my friend. And he's like, well, it's sick. I said, well, we should try and cure it. We shouldn't kill it. So I was mad at my dad for several months.
Even Kevin saying, I love that tree communication. And I'm going to add one other thing that he said up here. He said, I'm the same way. I take from many cultures with what resonates. And I think that was significant. And Michelle's adding trees are knowledge. And like you said, that was your friend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was because my grief wasn't acknowledged. I carried that grief for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And in March, I always do a class on Earth's energy and chakras. Mm-hmm. And I'm teaching people how to communicate with trees now, which and in those classes, it's beyond a doubt that this tree communicated. So what I do is, and you can try this at home. It's perfectly safe to try at home. I have 4 people sitting around a tree. Now, you want to take a tree that's, got a few years in, like 25, 30 years. The older, the better. And then you take a piece of paper and colored pencils, and then you just listen. And you let the tree draw for you. And it's very interesting that everybody around the same tree draw the same bird. And everybody around another tree was drawing everything in red and black. And the tree was explaining, I'm alive. There's blood running through me. It's different color than your blood. But, the imagery was there. And so the group came together without looking at because they're all back to the tree. So they're all in different directions. They can't see what the other person's drawing. And yet they all get the same message from that particular tree. So, and that's when I was finally able to grieve the death of my willow.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And you know what? I think I was talking about this last week. When we were working into this spooky Halloween season with the veil being so thin. And I was talking about how my youngest, you've met him, Justin, a couple of you have probably seen him pop in. He has severe autism. He's very gifted psychically, though, very, very gifted. But I never pushed what I believed or what I thought on my children. But when they were open to it, or it was a teachable moment, always would talk to them about different ways to look at things. And I remember we were at the park and I was talking to him. He wasn't verbal at the time, but he could understand some of what I said to him. And I was teaching him that when you're not feeling well or whatever, that you can put your arms around a tree and you can hug a tree and send that love to the tree. And it was really interesting that when he was doing that, there was a little one about 18 months old, and she just toddled over and she kind of joined, and she didn't know it's from a hole in the ground or anything, but I don't know if she picked up on the energy or what it was, but it was kind of cool. And that was quite a few years ago. Let me just say hi over here quickly. We've got Manifestation Law joined over on Instagram, and Dave Cruz 70. So thank you. But I want to tell you guys, because Instagram sometimes cuts off after an hour, and we still got a whole other hour to go. This is why I have Sonya back regularly, you guys. She has so much knowledge, and she's such a great speaker, and she has such a beautiful, really unique but incredible way of looking at things in the way you teach. You are a natural born teacher and author. And we are up to the hour. So I'll remind you, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Angel Rock on 105.3 FM out of Mississippi and 107.7 out of New Orleans, Louisiana, also FM. And this is the Angel Rock. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. This is my very good friend and fan favorite. And we have her on a couple times a year. We will continue to do so, Sonya Roy. If you are on Instagram and the feed cuts off, please come join us over on, you can go to Sonya Roy's YouTube under Sonya Roy. It's on my YouTube under the Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin, or you can go to UFO Paranormal Radio and United Public Radio Network. That's on Facebook as well, but YouTube, you should have no problems with that because Facebook's been acting a little wonky. Sorry, wanted to jump in there. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, Mish is saying,
I saw that. Yeah,
they carry sadness. They carry actually even more than sadness. There was a tree at a crossroad where they would hang thieves, and he felt appalled of being used. They were feeling used, for that's not. And it's very interesting to have the conversation with the tree, because the tree says, that's not why I grew here. I grew here as a marking point for travelers. I grew here to, provide shade to weary travelers, not to hang people. So we had to do quite a bit of healing with this particular tree. It was a lot more than sadness. He even had anger in him for being used that way.
I've been watching the Lord of the Rings because I'm so into the new series. And the biggest thing, it really made a big thing with me when I watched it the first couple of times, and even now, is the Ents, the E-N-T, the tree people. And they had been asleep for so long. And the anger, like, I just thought a lot of stuff that came out, like being cut down and mistreated and all the things that happened. And it was pretty true to life for me to watch that and see that. And trees have much more than anger, everybody. But it was glad to see them acknowledged. Oops.
Well, the thing is, actually, one of the consciousness awareness that we need to develop is that it's not because humans can use words that we are more sentient than dolphins or crystals or trees or plants. They all have a consciousness, and we can communicate with that consciousness. And their role is to make our life prettier, to make our room smell better. There's so much about what their purpose is, and they know what their purpose is. But they have voices. My roommate Chris, she does life crystal reading. So you can have a life crystal that's assigned to you, and we're able to match the people with the crystal. And Chris communicates with the consciousness of the crystal and gives you their name, their purpose, why they came to you. Right? So mediumship is so much more than just talking to dead people. There's so much more to it. Being able to communicate with your pets, right? Like you said at the beginning of the show, being able to understand what's ailing you, what's bothering you, and being able to receive the messages that they're trying to pass to us, right? Yeah, mediumship is a wide term to be able to communicate from one consciousness to another. If I were to give it a definition, that's the definition I would give it.
The reason why I love mediumship, and it was a big shock for me, but it was a good lesson, is, and if people are just sort of going into the world of spirituality, you may hear the clairs, right? Clairaudient, clairvoyant, sentient, whatever it may be. Well, I always was very clairaudient or hearing. And when I really opened up to it,
you want to explain that for some of the people, maybe that this clair thing, they don't know what that is?
Well, it means clear hearing, clear seeing, clear cognizance. You just know it. You don't know why you know it, but you know it. It's clear cognizant. There's a whole bunch of clairs you're going to hear. But where I was going with this was, speaking of other purposes of mediumship, the reason why I opened up to it, and my theory is, if something shows up in my field of vision or my daily life more than twice in a short period of time, that's a sign for me to pay attention. If it shows up 3 times, it's like, yep, there's a message here. There's something going on. And I happened to be out Christmas shopping, and I had a set of twins when I didn't have them, but I worked in the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, and there was a set of twins born at 28 weeks, a boy and a girl. And we always used to pray for boys, not boys, if there was going to be a sick baby, because boys are usually more sick than girls. Long story short, the little boy had a very tough road in the NICU. Fast forward a couple of years, and I'm out working in the community as a visiting nurse, and who comes on my caseload but this little boy, and he now has cerebral palsy. Okay. A couple of years later, hurt my back, so I was off permanently with my back. But again, this brings us to the Christmas shopping. And I was out, and I ran into his mom. And of course, we were really happy to see each other. And as I go to hug her, I hear, I hope I don't cry, because usually I do, but I heard, tell my mommy I love her. And I was like, and I knew it was his voice, even though he was nonverbal. I knew. And when she told me he had passed away a couple months before, I shared the message with her. And I didn't hesitate. Like, I didn't think like, oh my God, would she think I was crazy? And I said, I'm so sorry, I don't get a paper. I think I said something to the effect, it's like I knew, because I just literally just heard this, and I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. And I had a couple more experiences like that weekend, running out past patients coming through. So with mediumship, where I'm going with this story is there's many reasons why we can connect to the other side, not only healing, but teaching. Past patients I had when they were on this earth, coming back now from the other side to help me tap into my gift. And I don't say this from ego, but to be able to help others. And it's not just my gift. This is our birthright, I think, as human beings. Wouldn't you agree, Sonya?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I got pushed into it, though. So I got 2 stories for you to explain. So, like I said, my grandmother visits me from the other side. So this is a common occurrence. We talk almost every day. And then I'm supposed to have a day surgery, but I get called into the hospital the night before, which I thought was really odd. I was a very high performance athlete, so they look after you because they know your career depends on this. But I'm like, this is day surgery. Why am I coming the night before? But I'm like, whatever. So I go in, and I'm sharing a room with this very old lady that's got this, the barely can breathe thing on morphine, and the daughter's there crying her eyes out, and I'm thinking, great, this would have been better if I would have been home and
a long night.
Sleep, and I'd say around 10:30, around that time, I can't sleep because of this raspy and the crying and everything, and I'm thinking, okay, is there something I can do? And there comes grandma in the room. She's like, that's great that you're open to helping. So now you're going to go communicate with the old lady. And I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't
mean that kind of, what can I do?
Just like that. She's like, yeah, you ask, is there anything you can do? There it is. And so I get up, and I'm 16. Right. So it's not like I got a whole lot of experience in this. And I'm thinking at this point, I'm already in the hospital. They're just going to drag me away to the psychiatric unit, and I'll never be coming out. Right.
Yep.
And so I come over, and I was like, so your mother, how is your mother? She's like, well, she's kind of dying, but she won't let go. And she's on morphine. But, she, this is terrible. And I feel for her. I think she's in pain. So I'm like, okay, well, I said, would you like me to talk to your mother? So she has this look on her face, like she's like comatose
especially with your age too, right? That's for your age.
She's like, well, she's kind of like in a coma. She's on morphine. If I could talk to her, I would. I said, well, I can communicate with her consciousness. So I could talk to her, not using words, but reaching her mind and her spirit. So I said, would you like me to do that? And she's like, if you can, that would be, I need to know why she's hanging on like this. I was like, okay, connect with the older lady. And turns out she's waiting for her daughter. I said, is there a daughter missing? That she says she's waiting for a daughter. And this woman, she's like, yeah, but she got delayed, and she's coming from New Brunswick, and she'll be here on Wednesday night. I said, okay, well, your mother wants to give her a chance to communicate with her before she leaves. She wants you to know she's hearing everything. She just can't respond anymore, but she's there listening. And as soon as your sister comes and they have a chance to be together, your mother will go.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, the raspy voice really went down. She seemed to be breathing better. And 2 days later, on Wednesday night, I saw the lady appear in my room. And this time she looked, people on morphine, they look pasty gray, paper-like, right? And she was in my room full of light. And she's like, I'm going now. Bye-bye. So I know she was, she made it to the other side. So again, mediumship is not just about people who are already dead. It's people who are unable to communicate, and allowing us to pass this communication along to the people who need to hear these messages.
I agree. And what a beautiful story you've just shared. And I can't even imagine how much courage that must have taken at the age
I
you
was
were.
freaking out.
And that the woman was open-minded to it. Never mind. I find there's a lot of nurses that do this as this field. And I know why now, because I can tell you, having worked in palliative care and many things, yeah, we intuitively would always know, like, or the person would say, well, why are they hanging on? Or why, well, not even knowing that, you just asked, is there another family member coming or somebody that's not here? Or there was many different reasons. And I think we intuitively would pick it up, right?
Yeah,
Because most
exactly.
people wouldn't, we care, right? Like, that's why you're there. You don't want to see people in pain and hanging on. And for families, that's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing it. Like I said, what courage that must have taken at 16.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. But I think also, I want people to understand that it's not because you learn how to communicate that that has to become your day job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be used alongside what you do to facilitate what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's an extra tool on your tool belt. So
Yeah.
it's not because you learn how to finally open your consciousness and connect to other consciousness and receive messages that becomes your full-time job. You don't, like you say, a nurse in palliative care would benefit from having this ability and being
Absolutely.
able to communicate, right?
Not even in palliative care. Think about when you're working in the ER, you're working in
Unconscious
ICU.
patients, yeah.
How many, like David, my co-host, had a near-death experience, but he was in a coma, and it was from I think not previously diagnosed pneumonia, but that would have been so helpful for him to have somebody to be able to reach out to connect with him. He's a medium, but I mean, for somebody to connect that was caring for him, because his family wasn't a medium. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So we can be, very useful in so many different areas. But
Mhm.
for around that time is also when I found out that not everybody does this. So for me, I thought everybody was like me, right? Because you think you're normal, and so if you're normal, everybody's like you. You're the same as everybody else,
Mhm.
and
Can I read this question? Because this
yes.
is a good question. So, hi, Kasoon. I think it's 3 or 4 in the morning in Sri Lanka right now. So, we appreciate you got up early, Kasoon. Good to see you. He says, I know a couple of mediums who claim to read each other's thoughts. Well, Sonia and I are kind of doing that right now, even not purposefully, because every time I'm about to say something, I notice Sonia will do that. Well, like even at the beginning, I was just about to transition into this, and you were ready to, and that can happen. But I'll finish the question. Finish each other's thoughts. Like one person thinks of something and asks the other person, is this true? And the other person says yes or no. Could this be? And I'm sure he's going to add more. I'm going to add one. Oh, could this be an ability? Don't know if I'm clear. I'm going to add one thing, and I know Sonia's going to have an incredible answer. I think we could all really tap into one another's thoughts if we really were open to it. And like Sonia said, had the teacher, if we weren't already able to do that. But the way I look at that, especially when I'm doing readings, and I know, Sonia, you don't do it. Many of the people that I know in this field don't. I'll have somebody come to me and say, why did my boyfriend and I break up, or my husband and I? What are they up to? What were they thinking about me? What were they blah, blah, blah? And if they tell me that, I always tell them, I'm sorry. I'm not the right person for you to work with, because I will not do that. I will not tap into somebody else's energy without their permission. Could I? Yes. Will I? No. That's like me going up to somebody's door and checking the lock and it's open and helping myself to whatever is in their house. But go ahead. I know I'm hearing you got a great answer to this. So
So it's a two-part answer, right?
Mhm.
There's the part where I can. I agree with you. I can. And I won't do it because just because I can. I anything that I do, I usually ask people, do I have permission to read your
Yeah,
energy? Or
absolutely.
and within the reading the energy, I'm reading your Akashic record, I'm reading your soul, I'm reading your emotional body, mental body, I'm reading everything, right? You're an open book to me. But I kind of ask, is it okay to give me permission? And then it's like the book falls open and I get
Yes.
everything. Yes.
Mhm.
And there's no more hiding and there's no more lying. And you can't say no. I'm like, whatever. You can deny if you want, but it's all there, right?
Yeah.
However, there are times when people's thoughts are so strong that you can't help
It
but
doesn't matter what you do, it comes through.
right. So I'll give you an example of that. I'm riding a bus. So I'm about 30 years old. Okay, but I'm actually commuting with a bus, and I'm not a big fan because I feel everybody's energy, and I feel so I prefer to have my own car. But I was trying to do something for the environment, so I'm commuting on this bus, and I get on the bus, and I'm feeling pretty laid back. There's no major thought going through my mind, and since I'm not driving, I sit beside the window and I'm just looking at the scenery, and it turns out to be it's a commuting more in the rural area than the city,
Okay.
so there's trees and the sun, and it's pretty. And all of a sudden, I'm I get, and for me, I have all the Claire gifts. There's 7 of them, and I got all those 7 of them. And so it's like someone all of a sudden puts a screen in front of my eyes, and now I'm watching this movie, and it's porn triple X thing, and I'm thinking, ugh, woo,
I don't want this.
what
Nothing
is
further,
this?
please.
Well, for a reference, I don't watch those things. I
Yeah.
have no interest in hardcore porn. It's not, it's not me.
It's just not your thing. It's not mine either. No.
It's not, right? And if it's your thing, it's fine, but it's
Yep.
it's not. So it's not what I'm leading at. It's not my imagination, because that's not what I would create. That's not what I would, imagine. Me, I would be imagining butterflies and dragons, and that's where my imagination goes. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, and I can't stop it. It's like going, and I'm like, oh, and I'm feeling yucky. I'm feeling dirty,
Like you
and
need
then
a
I look,
shower.
and I'm uncomfortable. So I'm trying to look around to see if there's a stop coming, so I can go shake it off. And I turn around, and the man that I'm seeing, and that's the other thing. If it had been my imagination, I would have pictured something like, I don't know, Keanu Reeves, right? But this is not my type. This is not at all what I'm attracted to. And I turn around, and the guy is sitting 3 rows behind me.
Oh God.
So his intent was so powerful. His imagination was so strong. The energy he was putting into this daydream of his became so loud that I captured it.
It
And
could have been sexual and energy too, because when you start looking into things like tantric sex and things too, right? There's something really powerful about that. And I'm not trying to get all triple X whatever on here, but there is real power
well,
to it.
the more
Creation can come from it too, right?
yes,
It's powerful.
yes. So I went, yuck.
Yeah.
Pushed the button, got off the bus. I felt like I needed a shower. Like it actually happened because the energy was all around me. So
I believe
I won't, like I say, I won't intrude on someone. But if someone is broadcasting this loud, then
and
I
it
can't help.
does happen. That's something that
Yeah.
you can't forget. Like, it's so
Yeah.
funny you said Keanu Reeves, because I just love him too. Maybe it's because he's Canadian.
I'm just saying.
But,
He's
no,
happily married now, so I'm very happy for him.
I'm happy he's married now too. He deserves it. But my point is, yes, that can happen. Or if you had somebody's permission, I guess, because soon, like you're saying, it's a group of people and they're asking each other, is this true? But the other thing I always tell people, we're not 100%. Okay. Like, we're human beings as well. We can get pretty accurate, but sometimes it could be the way it's being shown or heard or whatever. Like, it does it. So where I'm going with this is with your group, working with a group of medians, and the way he worded it, I'll put it back up, is they said, like, reading each other's thoughts. Well, a lot of times too, people, when they're thinking, other thoughts come in too, especially if you have ADHD or something, like, you could be thinking about a ton of different things. So I guess if they had each other's permission and they really wanted to do that, I guess they could, right?
Yeah.
So
That's actually an exercise that we do in Peru. That I try to tell people, okay, so you're gonna bundle a message. It has to be positive, obviously, because it's a group, right? But that we exchange these emotion or these thoughts, so they understand that you can shift those forward and they can be received.
yeah, I'm going to tell you a story now. Okay. I've never told this story, I don't think, on the show. So I was in third year university, and I wasn't following this path, although it's always been around me. And I've never forgotten this. I think I was running late, and I'm not one to get angry very often, but I was really PO'd about something. But you didn't know. I was just late to my class, and I sat down, and there was about 60 people in the class, and my prof for nursing says, Lorilei, do you realize that when you come in a room and you are upset or you're angry, it affects the whole room? But when you come in happy, same thing. And I think my mouth dropped. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you. That was my first indication about, holy cow, like, well, why would my mood that I wasn't showing affect other people? And I started to realize, empathic, when you're, and again, like Kasun, you said that dude had to have an amazingly strong imagination. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. It was very creative.
We've got another question, since we're talking about mediumship.
Who do I call forward? Can
I read that, Sonya? Because people that are listening won't know what we're talking about. So
when doing a reading, who do you call forward? Your guides, their guides, higher self. First of all, I simply connect to Creator.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why I should connect to anybody else that is down here when I could just go straight to the source. Mm-hmm. So I'll connect myself to the source and allow for anything that I do, whether it's a reading, whether it's a healing, whether it's whatever, that it be done according to divine will, divine love, and divine wisdom. So it's not me acting. It's not my ego taking first.
I say I'm just a male person.
I am, right? I'm simply the one that connects one to the other. Mm-hmm. And we are all connected to Creator. Now, you can call it the source, you can call it God, you can call it Gaia. It doesn't matter. But this higher power that everybody connects to is connected to. So I go straight to Creator and I say, if it's in accordance to your divine will, divine love, and divine wisdom, I would like to assist this person to receive whatever answers they're seeking. Mm-hmm. And then they'll tell me, well, I had someone come recently, they want to talk to their dog. So and that's the only time that people pay me after, because I can't guarantee they'll come. My grandma one time was with me almost every day. And then she's like, okay, sweetheart, this is the new person in charge of you now. And you're going to have to go to classes with him. I have a job now. I need to go and do my job. So I can't be with you every day.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes they're just not available. My brother passed away now 29 years ago. And we talked once in a while. And then last year he came and he's like, Sonya, I need to show you this. And he took me to the big hall of the Akashic Records. We got in a room and I saw his bird vision. And he's excited. He says, I'm being reborn and I'm going to be in the prairies. And look how I'm happy I am. Look how many smiles I got on my face. This is my life. And that's where I'm going. So I won't be able to come and chat with you anymore. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you can understand that, then you want to talk to someone. Well, maybe they're already reincarnated. I can't interfere with that. Maybe they're busy doing work, because there is work on the other side.
Absolutely.
So
I don't guarantee it either. I always tell people, just as we have free will in life, we also have it on the other side. Absolutely. And exactly what you're saying. Yes, as a spirit or soul, whatever you want to, everlasting energy, whatever you want to call it, yes, we do have work on the other side that we do as well.
And then sometimes, Chris's dad passed away, and he was a fisherman. And my dad kind of never really got to enjoy fishing because my mom didn't like him going for the weekend kind of thing. So we actually introduced Chris's dad to my dad, and they went fishing together on the other side, right?
Aww.
So they have a life on the other side. It's not the end. It's only the end of your physical body. Your soul lives on and takes on different tasks, different roles, different lessons. There's even interplanetary existence. So you can have an existence on Neptune or Venus, and so if they're there, I can't reach them. So I always say to people, I make no promises. If they come, they come. If I can't bring them over, and if I can't deliver the message you want me to deliver, you don't have to pay.
That's how I am, or I would return their money. Like I really would do that, because, and I'm not going to lie to you, like that's the one thing. And I always try not to judge, but we're human beings. As much as I say it's not my job to judge, sometimes we do. But the thing where I'm going with this is there are people maybe that won't return your money, but I always think that there's enough around what we do already that we need to be ethical as well as professional, and really,
absolutely.
We're not going to fake it, is what we're saying. We're not going to fake it just because that's what
you and I. Mm-hmm. I can't vouch for everybody else, but I have nothing to gain from people to give you false messages or false. I really don't. One of the things that I do, if it's people I'm calling forward, I can usually draw them because I can see them, so I will draw them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then I'll say, this is who is present here. And they'll say, oh my gosh, and they'll pull out the picture from their wallet, and it's the same exact face, right? So
I never tried that. You just gave me a good idea, because I don't always get names, and I'm not great with names. I'm not, because then my ego wants to pop in there and say, this is so-and-so, and it's like not even close. So, but I can draw. And I've often said, because when you were talking about the movie that you get, that's where my gifts are at. Like someone will be starting to talk about something, and it's literally like the movie's playing out, and I can see the whole thing. And I often say, I wish you could see what I'm seeing in my head right now.
But and when I give a session with someone, I tell them, right, it's possible that it will be a knowing. So that's clear cognizance. I just know. You can't ask me a question about how I know. I just do. The answer just shows up in my mind. Yeah. Other times it'll be like a movie. So it'll be clear. What is it?
Not clairsentience. Is
clairvoyant. Clairvoyant. So I can see the images, and I can describe where they're at and the colors, and so at the very least, if I don't get a name,
that's where I was going with this. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but quickly, I just remembered. That's where I was going earlier, that was the biggest shock for mediumship with me, because I always heard when I'm doing, like, if classified as a psychic reading, but mediumship, and you speak different languages, as do I. You speak more, and you're very bilingual in French. I'm not quite that bilingual, but I can read and write it. But it was like going to a different country every time I communicated with spirit, because I didn't know what I was going to get. But the beauty in that, I found, is we can ask them to show us another way. Or for someone like me, like they say, I have been doing this my whole life, but tuned into doing this professionally, we'll say, because they're here to help. Like if there's a message that's meant to be shared, especially if it's in their highest good and in love and whatever, they will work with you. They'll work with you. But that was my biggest shock. I just thought I was going to hear.
Well, and there's also sometimes clear olfactory, which is receiving smells.
Oh, and I've been getting that lately. It's crazy. Men's aftershave lately, last week, twice. So strong. Nobody outside. I hear you. Yes. Or Claire Gustin.
So, I can say, okay, all of a sudden I'm smelling cinnamon cookies. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is grandma. Oh, that's her smell, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Right? And so it doesn't matter if I don't have the name. I'm usually able to identify. The other one is clear sentient, which means feelings. So I remember I had a session. I'm like, oh wow! I said terrible pain on the left side of my head, and it's going down my neck, and it's pulsating. It's very strong. And the person will say, well, he died in a motorcycle crash, and okay, this call it. I'm like, okay, so we know who we're talking about. So as soon as I've identified who I'm talking to, I can say, okay, we got it. You can take that back. I don't need to be in pain for the entire session. So it's a matter of trusting. What I was taught is that the minute you're connecting and that you're in the session, absolutely everything in your environment becomes part of the message. If the cat shows up, the plane goes above your head, if someone's honking, sirens go by, it's not a distraction. It's all part of the message you're trying to deliver or connect to the person you're trying to connect to.
So Carrie Lynn is a medium as well, psychic medium. She's the one I mentioned earlier. Before I read your comment, though, we had a lot of people on Instagram tonight, which we're very happy about. We've got D Clove 1 joining in, Goodsco Market joined in. I don't know if I called this person out Manifestations Law. If you get cut off, because sometimes Instagram doesn't go for the 2 hours, please head over either to Sonya Roy's channel on YouTube under Sonya Roy. I'm under the Angel Rock on YouTube, and also UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network is on YouTube, and that way you'll be able to join in. Easiest way to find us. So I wanted to add, so Carrie Lynn does this for her regular job, mediumship. And she said, names are weird for people to receive. Some people see it as a gold nugget in the session, and others will question if you research them before the session. I don't stress about getting names either, but we work very closely the same way, Carrie Lynn. Like some people, and again, with no judgment, can only eat a certain diet and do things a certain way. Other people were sharing the way they connect if they do this work. If it works for you, keep doing what you're doing. But also, like, I've learned a lot just talking about this with Sonya tonight. If something resonates, give it a try. That's why I always say to people, work with a variety of different mentors, because everybody has a different way, and you may find a better, easier way. Wouldn't you agree, Sonya?
Yes. For Michelle Wolfong, she says, I'm trying to figure out where I fit in. I have gifts of clairvoyance and spirit psychic. I think they're the same as far as I'm concerned.
Psychic.
So,
they are the same.
It's about connecting to consciousness, whatever it is, crystal, animal, plants, people, masters, ascended masters, past lives. It's a different door, but you're at the center of the room. So for me, I don't see a difference.
There really isn't.
I don't need a title. All I can say is, if you need a message, come to me. I'll try to facilitate as best as I can.
Or like she said, she's trying to tune into her abilities, right? Once you are able to connect into universal consciousness, meaning that everything that you see, feel, whatever you on this planet and beyond is connected to a universal consciousness. Yeah. That's where you're going to tap into all these different things we've talked about and much more. So human beings need to label things. Spirit knows that. Yeah. That's why I love what Carrie Lynn threw in about names.
I think that I prefer to be called a medium, because to me, psychics are usually the more flamboyant, the more eccentric kind of people. But to me, they're the same. It's just I just find psychics to usually be more excitable or more putting on the show, as opposed to what I do is down to earth. I don't know, right? But as far as I'm concerned,
I've also seen mediums too that do that. But where I was going to go with that is, I think we need to label ourselves with what feels true and feels right for us, right?
Yeah, but I think that if you can recognize that you have the gift, that's all you need. Yeah. You don't need to fit in the box. Forget the box.
That's what I always say is, don't think outside the box. Think like there is no box.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and I have a story for people who are afraid to come out.
Oh, good. Can I say hi to Howie quickly? And then, sorry, because Howie, we were talking about you earlier. I was Riff Nation Network, you guys. He's got with Rhonda Harris. He's got the Orion Effect. He's a big supporter of our network, and he's popping in saying good evening as he's tipping his top hat. Michelle says thank you. Go ahead, Sonya. Sorry.
So after I realized that not everybody can do energy healing and not everybody can communicate with the other side, and then I kind of went inside of a, I would say a grotto, a cave, because I was like, oh, well, now it seems that not everybody is like that. They seem to be very few people like that. What does that make me? And are people going to think I'm crazy? And so I stopped kind of talking about it for a little while. And then after my divorce, things started blossoming again. It was fantastic. And I just gotten myself a tarot deck. And I'm at the I'm at the, just exiting the bookstore with my deck, and I'm pretty happy. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go home. This is gonna be fun. And then of course, Grandma shows up beside me. She's like, you see the lady with the red purse over there? I'm like, mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, well, she needs a reading. So now you got your cards. You go right on ahead. I'm like, Grandma.
Oh, wow. I've been there before.
And I'm like, how am I? And of course, this entire conversation's happening in my head. I said, how do you expect me to just go up to a woman with a red purse and say, hey, I just got a tarot deck. Would you be interested in the reading? I'm like, come on.
Because my grandmother, who you can't see, just told me you're in need of one.
Right? I'm like, and I'm afraid to get taken in a white straight jacket. I'm like, I said, come on. And so I'm discreetly following this lady with the red purse, and she goes into the not the cafeteria, but the food court area.
Your grandma really pushed you.
Oh yeah, she never gave me like an inch to hesitate. And so I kind of gingerly grab myself a fry or whatever, something cheap, and I sit like the table beside her, and then I have no idea how to do this, so instinctively I'm just getting my tarot cards out, and I'm just flipping my cards and
playing around with them closer to her. Oh,
and then the lady says, so do you know how to do this? I said, oh yeah. I said, would you like a reading? And she's like, of course. And I'm thinking, okay, that was easy. So I switched, I scooted over. And then for me, the tarot cards are like for beginners. They're there to, I don't know, some people have more faith in the cards than the messenger. But I can do the entire reading just holding the deck of cards and never flipping a card, right? Because I just hear what they need to hear, and I hear all the messages and the guidance they need. And so, but anyway,
you need the cards though to be able to see. It's not you; it's the people that need them, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I flipped the cards, give her the messages, all the messages Grandma wanted me to give her. The cards lined up perfectly with the message I had to give her. I was like, "Thank you, thank you." I packed this up and I put the back in my purse. She's like, "Now, see." No one came to take you away. So now, get back to it. It's like, okay, very clear.
Grandma, you know what? Your grandma pushed you, but your grandma knows you. This is all on the other side know us and know who we are and what we are, and we're all a part of each other. But my point is, in our humanness, right? What do we all think about? And I think that was an incredible story to share, because yeah, we feel stupid saying that to somebody we've never met before, right? And your grandma gave you that little nudge, and you trusted, and you went for it. And that, well,
I don't know what's a nudge. Felt more like a push.
No, but kind of the same thing happened. Not quite the same. Wasn't grandma? Just I'll call it guides. But I was going to one of my partner Dell's friends has a Christmas tree burning party every year. We don't get a real tree. I would love one, but we don't. And so people save their trees. And then around probably about April or May, he has a big bonfire and the trees are ready to go back to the earth, basically. So we're getting ready to leave for the party. And I hear from Spirit.
There's around the Beltane time, which is the time of fire.
Oh, interesting. So
it's May 1st.
I can't remember. It was probably around that time. Yes. So I hear from Spirit, you're going to want to grab one of your oracle decks. And I'm going, you know how we have that argument with when we're connecting on this side? I'm going, no, I'm not bringing the deck. You really might want to bring your deck. No, I am not bringing my deck. You really might want to. Let me tell you what to do. Fine, I'll bring the deck. And of course, this is all going on in my head. So I tuck it into my purse, and I specifically grab one of my mediumship decks. And I don't need my decks either, but sometimes it's nice for people to see. I happen to go to the party. I have a picture of one of the bonfire. I kid you not, Dell and three buddies since high school, like ninth grade, used to call themselves the Florida Four. They used to travel all around the U.S. going to concerts, and one of the Florida Four passed away a couple months before in a car accident. I have a picture when one of the trees went on the bonfire. It is a man's face coming up through the flames. I swear we were all toasting him in the picture. But when we get there, I sit down in the only seat. Never seen this girl. before, and we start talking and talking and talking, and she tells me her mom has just passed away the last 8 or 9 months, and she's having a really hard time. And I go, and she asks me what I do, and as we have a few drinks and start talking, and I wouldn't recommend that people do drinks, I wasn't, or before a reading, it just happened that way, I wasn't drunk. But my point is, she was very open to this. Now I know the house we were at, Dell's best friend is not into any of this stuff, nor is his wife. I'm going to get away from this group of people. Long story short, we're in the kitchen, and I remember the wife looking at me. I said, I promise we're just using the kitchen, so it's quiet. She goes, don't leave anything here. That's all I mean, meaning paranormal, right? This girl told me her mom's favorite color, I believe, was fuchsia, if I remember this, quite a few years ago. And as we come out, we're around the fire, and someone takes a picture of her and I together, right where her heart chakra should be. There's the most beautiful color of fuchsia. Like if that wasn't a sign from her mom. But that's what happens, right? And that's where you have to learn to trust and just listen, right?
And I think that's it, learning mediumship is actually easy. That's not the hard part. The hard part is having faith and trusting and having confidence in your message you're receiving. And
especially when people say, no, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. No, that never happened. And then invariably calling you back an hour or writing you back a day later going, I found out you were right.
Well, when I was in Peru, my roommate was receiving a lot of messages. The energy in Peru is really, really expansive, right? So you go there and you're not even finished formulating the question that the answer is already in your field. It's amazing. And so she's getting all these messages, but none for herself. They're all for everybody else in the group. So she got angry and she's like, I want messages for me. And then it stopped. It just plainly stopped. And then someone else started getting messages, and she's like, am I taking, Chris's spot? I'm like, no, you're not. So anyway, a few days later, we're always having dinner together. And I said, so Chris, are you ready to have messages again? And she's like, yes. I said, so does it matter if the messages are for you or for the group? She's like, no, I will be of service and I will give whatever messages I am given and I won't be selfish. And later on, I explained to her, I said, you have to understand, out of the whole group, I can get messages and you could get messages. So you can get messages for yourself anytime, but that's your only opportunity that was presented to you to give these people their messages during the trip. So it's not that you can't get messages about yourself anymore. It's just that now you're there to be of service to others. And if you're not going to honor your gift that way, well, then the messages will just stop. So the minute she agreed, and then she basically says, I apologize, I was selfish. And everybody's like, oh, and I'm thinking, no, not that, because, they don't understand the implications, right? And the next day, Chris is back to being like a radio, and she's like, there's your messages, right? And I'm like, see? I said, sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes you are more of service by helping others than trying to help yourself, and maybe that is what you were meant to do, is to give messages to other people, right? So you can be grateful for the gift, and you have to use it ethically, use it. I knew someone who could read cards, and she read someone for every decision they needed to make. And so they kind of took their power away, right? And this is where it's no longer ethical. So I will read a tarot reading or a card reading. I won't do more than once a year. And then I give people homework. And I'm like, now you, based on what you've gotten as your message, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. And don't come back, because it's going to be the same message. And I refuse to take your money again and tell you what you want to hear. I think that's the other biggest thing, is I don't tell people what they want to hear. I just tell them what the message is. So you can leave and not be happy, because that's not what you want to hear. But that's what you need to hear. And that's the difference between someone just going for your money and someone actually trying to assist you in your growth.
Well, the group we used to be in, my co-host and I call it the Voldemort group, the group that shall not be named. But the whole reason is, like, those of us that would do readings, you would do a class first and then free readings. And, if you had the time, you'd sit I would spend time with the person that was spending their time teaching before and after. And after a while, it got to the same thing. And this is for people listening with no judgment. People would keep asking the same question over and over and over and over from the same different people, expecting a different answer or getting the answer that they want. And we're always very frustrated that people that were reading them hadn't watched the show before or the show after, but what they were picking up from spirit. And I think that's an important point to point out, Sonya. Or there's many people who, exactly what you said, and again, not with judgment, but you will ask and ask and ask and ask if there's free readings. Okay, you ask the same question, or every decision, instead of standing in your own power. And I say this with love for people that hear this, standing in your own power, breathing,
Yeah, they need to hear that.
quieting your mind, and starting to trust
And
your own intuition. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's where my readings go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there, like I start
You
right
can't
off.
read for everybody.
No, I start right off the bat. If you're asking me if you should leave your husband, or if you know, forget about that. And if you're asking me if you're going to meet a guy, ask yourself, why haven't you? I think that's a more appropriate
That's
question.
what I say to people. If you were asking me, should I leave my husband? You already know the answer. You wouldn't be asking me. You're just looking for
And
validation.
it's not my responsibility. It's got nothing to do with me. So I'm not taking that on. But I can ask you, are you being abused? Are you feeling threatened? And if that's the case, you at the very least need to seek help. And, so I can assist you in that fashion. But I will not tell you yes or no, because we all have free will.
Yeah.
So this free will cannot be enacted by anyone in this universe. There's no ascended master that's going to force you to do something you haven't decided you wanted to do. And as much as creator would like us to follow a certain path, a certain dream, he's given us this gift of having free will. So who am I all of a sudden to take over your life and tell you how you should live it and who you should live it with? That's not my role. That's not within my power. I'm just there to say, maybe you need to, I don't know, meet new people. Maybe you need to find a new career. Maybe
It goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, though, when I said even you, myself, all of us even say go to different people when it comes to healing work, for example, or whatever that may be, because when it's too close to situation, the mirror's right up to our own face. It's hard to see it objectively sometimes. That's why somebody that is coming from a good place and is able to look objectively and see the whole situation, you're going to get some objective feedback that you more than likely need to hear. You have the choice not to follow it if you don't want to, but that's where I'm going with even the mediumship. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not pooping on people that do free readings. I used to do free readings all the time. I still do if I have time, but I've seen some people that are afraid to touch their, trust their own inner wisdom and their intuition. And this is for those that are hearing that
well,
you got to start somewhere.
These gifts are supposed to help someone who's stuck, not take over their power of decisions and their own intuition and listening to their own inner guidance. Yeah, and this is why I teach mediumship. So rather than believing whatever anybody else say to you, I learn how to stay connected with your higher power and learn to be guided and own your own answers. And that way you regain power. You become more of who you are rather than giving parts of you to everybody. So that's why I teach the mediumship. Not because I want everybody to start opening corner shops on medium, but more for, okay, so you have this ability, it's dormant inside of you because no one showed you how to use it. So now use it and guide yourself. You don't have to do it for anybody else. But once in a while, like you get a message for someone and you're like, I'm getting something. And at first I really struggled. So what I would do,
I can see why. Your grandma.
But
love her, the energy, but holy cow, she pushed you.
But what I would do, if it's someone I know that I'm hearing a message from, I would call them and say, hey, guess what? I had a dream last night. Now, that I can lie about. But it's easier for someone to accept that you had a dream about them than all of a sudden in the middle of the day, you have received a message from source for them, right? I don't know. Some people feel they're not important enough for source to try and guide them and give them messages. So, but if I got a dream, then they listen. So that's my way that I started. But now everybody knows what I do, so I don't have to hide anymore, right?
You're not teaching this online though, are you? Right? You're just teaching it physically, mediumship, or are you offering this online coming up?
No, I so far I have online classes, but not for mediumship. Mediumship, I like to be there because a lot of people have a lot of fears. So I like to be present to alleviate their fears, and so they feel really surrounded and guided. And I haven't found a way yet to teach it a long distance. Maybe, but not yet.
That's why I was thinking we need clones of you then.
Right? I'm going to Peru with a group in November, and I'm like, I hope everything goes really smooth, so I have a little bit of a vacation in there while I'm taking care of it.
Okay, I'm putting that juju out there for you then. I still can't believe that you're traveling November 3rd, or not, is it November? No, October.
November 1st to November 23rd.
Okay, but when are you going to Montreal? Because we were hoping at the beginning of the show, it's too bad you couldn't have, or is that when you are going to Montreal?
I'm going to Montreal October 3rd.
That's what I thought. It's too bad if your plane wasn't stopping in Thunder Bay. I don't know if you were here, Carrie Lynn, and she's leaving November 3rd and she's going to Montreal. I said, too bad if she wasn't stopping over in Thunder Bay. We could nab her and bring her along with us. That would have been awesome. Leslie says, we are here to remind others of their inner self and how they can heal themselves.
So I'm not sure why there's a question mark, but yes, you are right, Leslie. That's exactly what we're here for. We're here to assist people who have closed the blinders and are asleep and are forgotten their true nature and who they really are in their soul. So it's a duty in a way. If you are, like I said, for Chris, she was receiving messages for others. It's her duty to deliver those messages. She needed to get over that fear. And from some reason, and while we were in Peru, it all seemed so natural that she lost that barrier, which was so amazing, right? Mm-hmm. It's not for ego. And I have people coming to see me and I don't know them from Adam. So I got no agenda whatsoever. And this is what I'm hearing. And then sometimes people are really straight face and I say to them, I said, am I on the right track here? Yes, I travel to the US quite a bit. Yes.
Kathy Hanley.
I'm actually planning a week in Shasta next summer.
Okay, so, what state is Shasta in? Because there's people from all over the world.
California, Northern California, Mount Shasta. But there's so many things about Mount Shasta now. My brother says, people get abducted and there's aliens there? I'm like, yes. And you go there? I said, that's one of the reasons why I go there, not to be adopted, but because there's such a strong energy there. Mm-hmm. But yes, I do travel in the States, and when I have someone who creates a group, then I will travel for a group.
So Carrie Lynn says aliens, and we got a few more minutes left. So the veil is naturally thinner in this time of year. So let's talk a little bit about that for people maybe that are sort of feeling really, this is resonating with them and they're thinking, how do I start? How do I maybe connect while the veil is thinner? Like we have Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, they're connecting with the Day of the Dead.
Well, they're actually honoring the dead. Right?
I was just going to say that. You just took the words out of my mouth. I was trying to say that. I was going to say it's such a misnomer. They are honoring the dead and their ancestors. See, guys, isn't it you, Kasoon, that asked? This has happened this whole show as I'm about to say something. Sonya says it, or vice versa, right?
Yeah, because we're on the same wavelength, right? And with someone that you trust and someone that you have a close connection with, you're able to do that, right? My roommate and I, we often have conversation with have things said that she's already answering what I'm going to say. And I have that with my brother. So I have that with certain people where we're so connected that half of it is just a waste of time. We're just already 10 steps ahead of where we were talking, right?
Yeah, like
But
I couldn't see very well in the background before you started. I knew it was her. And I said, "Hey, how's it going?" Talking to her. So, how can people use this or start to connect? Maybe tapping into things now that it's a little bit thinner towards the end of the month, month of October. What would you
well,
suggest to get started?
the one of the ways, like the Desde la Muerte, is to connect with the ancestors, because you carry in your DNA unresolved issues for your family. So being able to connect with an ancestor and say, what is it that we need to change? What do you need help with to be at peace? Right? That's what that day is for. And for the Celtic Druids, it's Samhain Day, which is the same day, which is again to either go connect with your inner self and reconnect with your inner child if there's a disconnect there. So it's not even, doesn't even have to be on the exterior of you, right? But it's all about consciousness. So I will say this, crystals are a little tougher to break to communicate with. They have a very, very slow, you have to be very patient with crystals. So I would say that's not the easiest way to start to try and communicate with your crystal. But communicating with a plant does definitely work. Sit by a tree and see if you can get a message before they go to sleep, because they do like the ants in Lord of the Rings. They tend to go to sleep and then they wake up in the spring. But
gratitude is a really good one. Like one thing I do every night, and a lot of us that do this work have a practice. I lay down in my bed. Usually my back is sore, and it's not a pity thing. I'm sharing this as a tip, guys. It reminds me, it's a physical reminder. I lay down on my bed. My bed feels so good. So then I start to think about all the things I'm thankful for. And before I close my eyes, I ask my team, source, God, everybody over on the other side, that while I sleep, can it be peaceful, please, as well as for others. But I also picture a bubble of light over top. I call it like almost a healing chamber, because gratitude, right? You're starting to raise your vibration a bit, as well as energy, because that's when we heal anyways. Especially we can do a lot of healing sleeping. So that's what I do. Do you have anything special you do at all?
There's one thing. Now, I'm sure some people are watching or listening have children. What I would do with my children when they go to sleep at night, I would set their mind energy to say, okay, so what color of bubble would you wrap yourself in tonight?
Yeah. Nice.
And then they would pick a color of the bubble, and then that bubble, I know from chakras and colors and meanings. Okay, so they need more self-love, they need more connecting, they need more, right? And so I'm able to show them, all right, so if that's the color that calls to you, we're going to imagine a bubble. You're going to fill this bubble with light. You're going to feel very light. You're going to feel like you're swimming in this color. You're going to feel it coming in and out of you. You're going to be one with this, and they're asleep, right? But their thoughts and their intention was to swim in this color all night, so their energy will be boosting by the morning. So that's another thing they can do.
My son, my youngest son, still remembers. He'll still say it, because I still tuck him in at night. He'll say just before he's going to bed, Mom, I put the bubble up. And then my other son, when he was younger, I never asked him what he used. The bubble's a great idea, and I love that. But my son was at a different place than my younger one. And so I helped him use his imagination to create something that was memorable and powerful for him. And he never shared till years later. He would always wrap himself in Archangel Michael's angel wings before bed for himself. But for small children, I love what you just said, because it gives a parent an indication of where your child is at with the color, as well as it's like a battery recharge. I just love the tip that you gave. I really do, Sonya. Thanks for sharing that.
I have one last story I want to share. Do I have time?
Of course you do. We've got about 3.5 minutes, and then we got time to sign off. Sure. Go ahead.
So you just said he used his imagination. And until proven otherwise, you think it's your imagination. When I was in CEGEP, so college, so I was about 18 or 19 years old, all of a sudden at night, I would cross over the veil. There's literally like curtains, and I would cross this. And the grandma's like, okay, so you'll see what kind of work I'm going to be doing now. So off you go, talk to this person. And this person was what appeared to be a very tall, thin person with glasses and a mustache. And I'm thinking this is like grandma's test, right? So I'm just taking the test. So this guy says he's suicidal. So I talk to him about life and this and that, and I give him light and energy, and then he says, okay, I'm fine now. I won't do it. And I okay. So then come back to my bed, sleep the rest of the night. About 2-3 weeks later, I'm in college. And this guy comes up to me and he says, you were in my room 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, and without looking, and I'm like, no, dude, I'm not that kind of girl. I know exactly where I spent my night. I was in my bed. It wasn't me, you're the wrong girl. So he's like, no. And then he touched my shoulder. So I looked at him and I realized this is the guy I was talking to.
Yeah.
And he's like, you appeared in my room. You were made out of light. I was going to kill myself and you talked me out of it. And you gave me hope, and here I am, and there you are. Can we go grab a beer after to talk, because you're the girl that was in my room? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, yeah, no, that I remember. Okay, yeah, I'll see you after class.
Oh my gosh.
So after that event, it's no longer your imagination. It's no longer, you know, this is real. Whatever is happening, it doesn't have to happen in a third dimension, and it's real. So for me, that changed me, because it was like, okay, I need to put my best foot forward every time. I need to take every experience seriously, because it's real. It's in a different dimension, but it's real. So that's all I wanted to leave.
That was powerful. You guys love her every time she comes. I could do a show with Sonya every week and it'd never be the same. She'll be back. Don't you worry. I promise. How do they get a hold of you? What do you got coming up quickly? And let us know.
Well, if they're in the Midwest, we have the big fair, the September 28, 29 in Drumheller at the Badland Community Facility Center. I'll be in Quebec from October 3rd to October 31st, and I'm teaching medium in French and English there. So if they can make it there,
and this is in Canada for people that don't know that are listening. This is in Canada. Mm-hmm.
And then I'll be in Peru from November 1st to 23rd. So if you're
not in Canada,
not in Canada, and if you're interested in having me over and you want to put a group together, you just contact me, and as long as I can cover expenses, I travel all the time, and this person really wants to get a hold of me. I travel all the time, all over the world. I've been to Europe. I've been to Australia. The only place I haven't been yet is Asia, and we're hoping to go there next year.
So if you're listening, you want to get a hold of her, you can get a hold of her on sonyaroy.com. She's got a YouTube channel. You've got a Facebook page too, Sonya?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Redo Spiritual Wellness Center.
All right, you guys. If you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/Angel Rock, as I've been saying. And now you guys are going to hold me to it. I am setting up my first course for the new year. Since we talked, we talked a bit about it the last time. I'm working on it. So once I get my act together, I was hoping for October. October's coming too quick, but I'll have a domain name, hopefully, and everything with the website. Okay. But you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/Angel Rock. Also, you can get a hold of me anywhere on any social media platform. Fastest and quickest way to get a hold of me, Facebook Messenger usually. That's the quickest, it seems. Also, 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, Angel Rocker Tribe for more things spiritual. Don't forget, I will be back with David Hansel on Thursday night with The Thing at the Foot of the Bed, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget about our group there, The Thing at the Foot of the Bed on Facebook with Lorilei, Potvin, David Hansel. We are almost getting closer to 200. We get to 200 people. We just started a little ways away. David and I are going to start going live. You can leave show ideas. You got pictures. You got anything you want to talk about. That's the group to go to. Sonya, thank you. Always goes by way too quick. Such a pleasure. I want to thank you.
We're on a roll there.
I know. Don't worry. She's coming back, you guys. You guys love her every time she comes back. Don't forget about her books. I know some of you were asking about her narcissism book. That's not the only book. She's got a ton of books out there. They're on Amazon too, right, Sonya,
yes.
on your website?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they want to find anything at all, if they want to link to my YouTube, my Facebook, they just go on sonyaroy.com and then they can select whatever they want there.
Stay tuned for the next show coming up. We ran over a little bit, so we got to get out of here, you guys, but stay tuned. Love y'all. We'll see you Thursday. And next week, don't forget, Father Sean my brain just went. Father Sean from our network. I just told you his name before the show. He's on Eli Ross, League of Exorcists. He's coming on next Monday, you guys, on the Angel Rock. So we'll see you then. Love y'all. See you next week. And
Thank you for listening.
bye.